Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, Mike Lindell sent me a note yesterday. He has a special for the 6-piece towel set, $25 when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com, use promo code Joey. You'll get the $25 offer on the 6-piece towel set, and I promise you, these will be the most comfortable, the most absorbent towels that you own. mypillow.com, use promo code Joey, get the 6-piece towel set for just $25. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. The Biden campaign reportedly has created a special task force to reduce the impact of videos that show the president, quote, malfunctioning in public. That's how they're describing it now, malfunctioning. Meanwhile, MSNBC's Joe Scarborough is blasting conservative media for circulating the, quote, cheap fake videos of the president. We got all the details on that for you. An Israeli peace activist who was kidnapped and held hostage for 53 days in Gaza said that the horrifying experience shattered her longstanding belief that there could be peace between Palestinians and Israelis. The Congressional Budget Office now expects deficits to be $1.9 trillion in fiscal year 2024. That's $400 billion more than their previous estimate. And Louisiana is the first state to require the display of the Ten Commandments. Did you hear me right? To require the display of the Ten Commandments in every public school classroom after Republican Governor Jeff Landry signed a bill into law yesterday.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
The Biden campaign is reportedly scrambling to try to reduce the impact of videos that show the president having some of his moments. The White House aides have become more sensitive about the videos of President Joe Biden and have begun to fight among themselves, we're told, and to quarrel with their media allies about the coverage of Biden's age, gaffes, and videos exposing moments of strange confusion. The White House invented the term cheap fakes after a video this past Sunday showed former President Barack Obama walking Biden off of the stage after the president appeared to freeze at this multi-million-dollar fundraiser in Los Angeles last weekend. Another video from June 13th appeared to show Joe Biden wandering off into the distance while he was in Europe before Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni turned him back to the group of world leaders watching a skydiving show. A third video showed Vice President Kamala Harris and allies dancing at a Juneteenth event while Biden appeared to stare blankly, not moving, with an empty smile on his face. That dazed and confused look that we have become to recognize on Joe Biden's face. So the campaign has established a task force to mitigate the risk posed by cheap fakes, a Biden official told Politico's West Wing Playbook this week. Now, I'm baffled on why they are calling these cheap fakes and who came up with that term. Karine Jean-Pierre has used it multiple times this week. It's also the responsibility of social media companies and media allies to mitigate the impact of the videos, the officials stress. They're wanting their allies within the media to cover this up, to downplay the effect. But I don't think it's going to work because the American people are already nervous about Joe Biden's age. Poll after poll has shown that the American people, even Democrats, think that he's too old. And then if you have him having these instances of freezing, of staring into space, it's a very odd thing to see this man literally, as he did in Los Angeles on that stage last weekend, when he stood there and was just looking into nowhere. So, same thing with him wandering off in Europe when he was supposed to be watching this show of the paratroopers, And you have these world leaders standing there looking up, and you see Joe Biden just kind of looking around like that, like a kid at a school event. And then he decides he's going to walk off. He's bored. He's going to do something else. Biden campaign spokesperson Mia Ehrenberg told Politico, voters deserve accurate information to inform their choice this November, and our campaign will be vigilant in calling out these lies when we see them. We hope media organizations and others with influential platforms follow our lead. Well, what lies is she talking about? If Biden, if you see the video, if you can see him getting confused, and you see him having to be assisted as he was in Europe and again this past Saturday, what is there to lie about? That's what I don't get. They always like to accuse the right-wing media, as they call us, of lying, of making things up. Well, Joe Biden, we see him in these videos, untouched videos. Not everyone has bought into the cheap fake spin. Videos of Biden malfunctioning, I love that word, malfunctioning in public, are real. Trump campaign communications director Stephen Chang told Breitbart News, the truth hurts. When the Biden campaign is confronted with that cold, hard reality, they offer ridiculous claims that anyone who clearly sees Biden acting like a brain-dead dope is part of some media-wide conspiracy. CBS News, for example, labels the clip as a digitally altered video, but it's the exact version that the White House is sharing as they're trying to make their case. Explain that one to me. If CBS is convinced that it is digitally altered, why is the White House using it as an example? And then you have MSNBC. It gets better. Yesterday, MSNBC's Morning Joe took aim at media outlets circulating again, and they refer to it, they're buying into this. They're using the code word, cheap fake videos of Joe Biden. When Joe Scarborough says they lie about their lies. And again, he points to last week when the New York Post, front page above the fold, got backlash against the cover story that included photos claiming to show Biden wandering aimlessly while watching a skydiving demonstration at the G7 summit in Italy. Again, the video is very clear. It was not altered. Biden officials and others pointed out that the video used was seemingly cropped. Well, it's one thing. You can crop a video. It doesn't mean you changed it. It means you just focused in on a tighter area. White House spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre pushed back against the negative coverage. Morning Joe co-host Joe Scarborough said of the right-wing media, that's all they've got. His sidekick, wife, Ms. Brzezinski, said the Republican account circulating many of the clips responded, claiming the videos are unedited and promised to keep posting them. So here's Joe Scarborough as he rambles on about how these videos that we've all seen over the past few months, Scarborough condemning the so-called right-wing media for sharing them.
Too, it's getting really more obvious, Mika, that they have the Trump campaign understands they have a serious problem with Donald Trump on facts, on issues, on you name it, because they have to keep engaging in cheap fakes to try to make Joe Biden look bad. And this weekend, they've done it over the past several weeks. They've got the New York Post doing it, the RNC's doing it, all of these right-wing stooges on X are doing it. And if you have to make stuff up, you got to make stuff up. Obviously, you don't feel like you have a strong enough campaign to win outright.
No.
Look, I don't care what Joe Scarborough says. The Trump campaign does not have to rely on these so-called cheap fakes to make Joe Biden look bad. Joe Biden is doing that on his own. Joe Biden needs no help. I mean, here's the latest example. Have you heard the word salad from Joe Biden this week? This is the president of the United States, the man that has his finger on the nuclear button. Here's the latest from Joe Biden.
Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security
secretary, I'm not sure going to introduce you all the way.
He can't say the name of his Homeland Security Secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas. That's what Joe Biden was trying to say. Listen to it again.
Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure going to introduce you all the way.
I'm not going to introduce you all the way because he can't get the word out. Now, look, I don't want to make fun of an old man. I'm going to get old someday, I hope. But why turn this around on the media and calling it cheap fake when there's nothing fake about that? That was not altered. That was Joe Biden struggling to introduce the Secretary of Homeland Security, a man who works in his administration. That's your president. Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Firmin Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Soon going to be 4 years ago that I started my journey with PhD weight loss and nutrition. I lost 30 pounds pretty quickly, I might add, and I've been able to maintain that for almost 4 years now. It'll be 4 years coming up in July. If this is the year that you have decided that you're going to get healthy, that you're going to lose that weight, that visceral fat that's so damaging around your waist, then now's the time to start. Let me encourage you to make that call today. 864-252-4925. Set up your initial consultation with PhD weight loss and nutritionist. Boy, am I glad that I met Dr. Ashley Lucas 4 years ago and that she got me on the right path to getting healthy. You're going to be able to do things that you may have thought you'd never be able to do again. Play with the kids, the grandkids, be able to hike and walk and maybe play a full 18-round hole of golf and be able to do it and not get so winded. Because when you take that excess weight off, you're just going to feel better. You're going to be able to focus. You're going to be able to sleep better. Your overall health is just going to be improved. 864-252-4925. Call, set up your initial consultation. Find them online at myphdweightloss.com. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers. As the war continues in Gaza between Israel and the Hamas terrorists, an Israeli peace activist who was one of the ones kidnapped and held hostage for 53 days in Gaza said that the horrifying experience shattered her longstanding belief that there could actually be peace between Palestinians and Israelis. I don't believe in peace. I'm sorry, I changed my mind. Ada Sagi, who was captured by Hamas on October the 7th at the start of the Israeli-Hamas war, speaking to the BBC. For decades, Ms. Sagi, she's 75 years old, lived in the Nir Oz kibbutz near the Israeli-Gaza border and taught Israelis Arabic so that they could speak to their neighbors. Now, when I saw this story, it kind of hit home with me because the Nir Oz kibbutz is the kibbutz that Mike Gallagher and I visited during our trip to Israel back in late February, early March. This kibbutz is the first thing that you see when you come from Gaza into that southern part of Israel. And it was the first area that was attacked. It's actually, we've all heard a lot about the music festival that was attacked with the young people there and a lot of them taken hostage. You actually have to go to this Nir Oz kibbutz first before you get to the music festival. And they just completely destroyed this small village. You may have heard me talking about in the past the burned out homes that we witnessed, just totally destroyed by these animals. And they took a lot of hostages. About 2/3 of those hostages were from this kibbutz. So Misagi is now urging the Israeli government to agree to a ceasefire and release the other 116 hostages who remain captive by Hamas. She told the BBC, "For many years I believed in peace. It's the reason why I started to teach Arabic at school. Maybe it will bring peace between the Arab people in Israel and the Jewish people. But from year to year, I understand Hamas doesn't want it." Sagi, who turned 75 in captivity, was among 105 hostages released in November in exchange for a week-long ceasefire and the release of some 240 Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails. During an interview, Ms. Sagi said Israel has to do the deal, what Biden and Bibi says, to stop the war and bring back home all of these hostages who are alive and some are dead, she said. She recalled during the horrific 53-day period that she was held hostage, students were paid to watch over her and other hostages inside of an apartment in the southern city of Khan Yunis. She said that she heard him say 70 shekels, which would be about $18.83 a day when you convert it. She said it's a lot of money in Gaza because they have no work. And if you work not for the Hamas, it's no more than 20 shekels a day, she said. She also recalled the dreadful uncertainty of not knowing what would come with each passing day under the Hamas control. She said, every knocking on the door, you think that somebody's coming to take you. When she was eventually told that she was going to go home on day 49, she didn't believe them, she said. She told the story of how at lunchtime they gave her food. Then they took her to car to another nearby city, Khan Yunis. And she said that they went to the border near Rafah, which is on the border of Egypt. She said, but something had gone wrong and they had to return to Khan Yunis. She said, we're told that they were releasing women and children, and you feel all the happiness that you're going to be released, and then something goes wrong, she said. Upon their return, Sagi said that they were taken to Nasser Hospital, which is the main hospital in southern Gaza that we've seen reported in the media throughout this whole conflict. She said that they were told that that's where they would be staying. Now, remember, the hospital's director has denied that any hostages have ever been kept in this hospital. The Israeli military said that its troops detained about 200 terrorists who were in the Nasser hospital during a February raid, and that they had found ammunition as well as unused medicine that had been intended for Israeli hostages but never used. Hamas, of course, has denied claims that it's been operating inside Nasser and other hospitals across Gaza. Now free, Ms. Sagi said that other residents of her former kibbutz in Nuraz are living in apartments in the city of Kiryat Gat. She said, I lost my home, I lost my freedom, and the whole place that I have to go back to, our village, our kibbutz, is destroyed. And I can testify to that because I saw it. They burned some of the houses to the ground. The others they ransacked. They looted. It's unlivable. And I'm not sure that anyone would want to go back and live in the village anyway after experiencing this horrific attack. I don't know that you'd ever want to go back there, knowing that in some cases your loved one was murdered on that site. She said, I cried good. I'm not an iron woman like everybody says. Sometimes you cry and it's good. My mother would say to cry, it cleans the eye. Meanwhile, Israel warned about the prospect of an all-out war in their northern side with Lebanon after Hezbollah militants published disturbing drone footage threatening the Jewish state, as Hamas's representative in Lebanon claimed the terror group would carry out the October 7th massacre all over again if given the chance. Tensions are at a boiling point, we're told, between Israel and Lebanon. The Iranian-backed Hezbollah terrorist group published a roughly 10-minute video this week, allegedly taken by a drone, depicting several Israeli military sites and residential cities that were tagged highly populated. Israeli officials slammed the propaganda video as an unabashed threat against the Jewish state, warning the Hamas allies and Iran-backed terror group that they would lose should a two-front war break out. Israeli Foreign Minister Israel Katz said in a statement, we're getting very close to the moment of deciding to change the rules of the game against Hezbollah and Lebanon. In an all-out war, Hezbollah will be destroyed and Lebanon severely beaten, he said. This disturbing footage heavily focused on the city of Haifa, where the terrorists pinged a military base and port as well as Israel's Iron Dome defense system, according to the Times of Israel. Haifa is a port city, beautiful city. I've been there. And it is heavily populated. The video also showed the residential neighborhood in Kiryat Yam with the Haifa mayor, Yana Yahav, condemning the video as psychological terror and calling on the IDF to make sure his city's safety is assured. I mean, they're just they're trying to terrorize the people of these cities, leading them to believe they're going to be attacked. Whether you're replacing a broken appliance or maybe you're just upgrading, you're totally remodeling the kitchen, when it's time to get those new appliances, when you're ready for them, you don't want to have to wait weeks or even months to get started using them, right? Well, that's not the case when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. With over 11,000 square feet and 1,500 appliances at any given time, you can buy today and use today quite often. I'm talking about shopping with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. It's worth the short drive over to Pickens. Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, the whole team over there, they'll take good care of you. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, extended warranties, and at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe to all the team over there. Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they're proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with manufacturer's warranties that cover parts and labor. You owe it to yourself if you're looking for a new appliance to head over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Firmin Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. As we really immerse ourselves into presidential politics, and next week during the debate, this presidential election year is really going to become real. Now, this is a bit unusual that we have a debate this early, that we have a debate between these two candidates before they're technically have been nominated by their parties. Neither one of these, neither Joe Biden nor Donald Trump, are officially the party nominees yet. And by the way, RFK still says he has a chance of being on the debate stage too. Deadline is later today for him to come up with, to meet the criteria that has been set for eligible candidates to be on the debate stage next week. We'll see. RFK, look at that, make it even more interesting to have RFK on the stage as well. But this is a bit unusual to have a debate this early in the stage of the presidential election, and especially before the parties have even nominated their official candidates. And according to the Biden campaign, and I'm assuming that Donald Trump agrees, it doesn't appear they're going to have the traditional debates put on by the Presidential Debate Commission. They both have shunned that organization. They have just pretty much both agreed they're not going to participate in any debate, any official debate, or what we would historically call an official debate that is moderated by someone chosen, a network chosen by the Presidential Debate Commission. But one of the issues that we're going to hear a lot about, I believe, during next week's debate is the economy, is inflation. Because I got to believe that Donald Trump is going to point out that Americans cannot say that they're better off today than they were during his administration and prior to Joe Biden moving into the Oval Office, because we're not. Regardless of what Joe Biden tries to convince people of, Bidenomics has not worked. Regardless of what the Biden campaign, what their official statement is, our country, inflation was caused by the haphazard spending of the Biden administration. They did it in the name of COVID coming out of the pandemic, but they've continued. In a minute, I'm going to share with you the latest CBO report, and it's not good news. Inflation and the economy is standing as the top priority for Americans, while abortion is coming in last, according to a June Seigel survey. The survey asked respondents to identify their top priority, and a plurality, 27.9%, chose inflation and the economy as their top priority. Illegal immigration, another strong suit of former President Donald Trump, emerged as the second most important issue, with 19.7% of respondents choosing that option. So you've got the inflation in the economy, number one, and immigration, number two. These are two topics that Joe Biden fails miserably with. According to the survey, threats to democracy came in third with 15.3%, but all other issues came in the single digits. Just 7.8% chose health care as a top priority, followed by national security with 6.4%, climate change 5.9%, gun control 5.8%, crime and public safety came in at 5.4%, abortion 4.1%, and another 1.7% were unsure of their top priority. So the fact that abortion is at the bottom of the list kind of tells you that the Biden campaign is out of touch with the American people, because they want to push abortion. They want to make abortion front and center. They want to try to convince people, women particularly in America, that mean old Donald Trump appointed those mean old conservative judges who changed the law of the land when it comes to abortion and sent it back to the states. And Joe Biden thinks that he can successfully make that argument and win and turn a large portion of the electorate against Donald Trump. If this poll is right, abortion is not a big concern to people. Notably, a plurality of Hispanic and black respondents also chose inflation and the economy as their top priority. Now, Donald Trump has been telling us that he has expectations of winning a large portion, maybe the largest portion of Hispanic and black votes of any Republican candidate in modern history. And he very well may do it again if this poll is correct. The company that did this, Sinal, said in a summary of the survey, abortion, 4%, falls to the least important priority for voters 5 months out from the election, a bad omen for Democrats hoping the issue will be their golden ticket to the White House. Voters believe Trump's policies are better for their lives than Biden's by 5-point margin, including a plurality of independents, 38%, and Hispanics, 44%. So the fact that Trump appears to have 38% of independents who believe that the economy is more important than these other issues, that's a good sign for not only Donald Trump, but Republicans down ticket as well, for those congressional candidates, for those U.S. Senate candidates. The survey coincides with others that show the Manhattan jury's controversial guilty verdict in Trump's business records trial failing to put a dent in the former president's political performance. It's had no effect. In fact, it has had an effect. It has galvanized his core support to the point that there are people who never gave a donation to a political campaign before has given money to Donald Trump. Many of you have told me that you have. Many of you have texted me and emailed me that you have given money to Donald Trump's organization and you've never contributed to a political campaign before. Meanwhile, the news from the Congressional Budget Office kind of tells us or reinforces the fact that, yes, the economy and inflation is the most important issue to Americans. And because of this information from the CBO, it's going to be an even bigger issue because their report released this week shows that the deficit will be around $1.9 trillion in fiscal year 2024. The significance of that? That's over $400 billion more than their forecast was back in February when they first released the forecast for this fiscal year. How do you miss it $4 billion? In a new analysis that was released this week, CBO explained that the bulk of the changes came from an increase in spending on, guess what? Student loans thanks to President Biden's debt forgiveness program and the foreign aid bill, something that a lot of Americans aren't too happy about either, the amount of money that we're sending to Ukraine. They also noted that higher than expected spending on Medicaid and the increase of cost of running the FDIC have contributed to this as well. Over the course of the decade, from 2025 to 2034, the CBO now projects cumulative deficits of $22.1 trillion, which is $2.1 trillion higher than previously expected because of a combination of policy changes and a gloomier than previously projected economic forecast. Folks, we're digging our hole deeper. And this is why, and this goes for Republicans too, we got to wake up and we got to stop the runaway spending. We are spending ourselves into a hole that we can never get out of if we don't change this now. We've got to change how we spend money. Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Firmin Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, you know, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. On the text line, Tony says, Joey, why wasn't Sherry Biggs asked what nonprofits does she help, which would all be Democrat nonprofits, and is she a donor of the Democrat Party? That answer should have been yes, and so is my husband. Well, we don't know that for sure, Tony. They did not ask that question. Susan says, Michael Bloomberg is a lifelong Democrat who became a pretend Republican because it was the only way he could be elected mayor of New York City. While still mayor, he became an independent, became a Democrat again in order to seek the 2020 presidential nomination, and Mississippi transplant Sherry Biggs doesn't know who he is. Whether she's that ignorant or she's lying, she's got no business in Congress. All right, now let's not start calling names, please. Texter, Joey, we finally agreed on an issue. Genocide Joe plays both sides. I'm a black male and a diehard Democrat, but Joe won't get my vote. Don't like how he's handling the border and the Israeli war, which is genocide of people of color. His staff lies, Joey, and is losing the black vote. He does more for illegals and nothing for blacks, but gives us false promises. Texter says, Jeff, can't Trump undo any executive orders that have been signed by Joe Biden? Well, yes, he can, just like Joe Biden undid a lot of the executive orders that Trump had done. This is why I think executive orders should be done away with. Presidents should not think that they can govern by executive orders. That's why we have a United States Congress. That's why there's a Senate and a U.S. House. That's the legislative body. Presidents should not be able to try to legislate through executive orders. And somebody, Congress, needs to get a handle on it, or maybe the Supreme Court needs to just rule on some of these challenges to the executive orders and make it very clear that they're not going to uphold any further executive orders. Texter says, Joey, I think it was staged. They can keep it cool in the press room. Oh, you think they really did keep the heat up so that the reporters would be hot in there and be uncomfortable? This as a result of the story yesterday where a reporter evidently passed out during the press conference. Karine Jean-Pierre, right in the middle of the press conference, had to stop momentarily so they could give medical help to one of the reporters, and they said that it was very hot in the press room. Texter, if Big does not know who Bloomberg is, then she does not deserve to be elected. She's another carpetbagger. Texter, interesting on Burns' property in Easley. I guess you're referencing the spot that's being aired, questioning if Mark Burns really lives in the home in Easley that he says he lives in. Texter, I honestly don't trust either Biggs or Burns. So you have a conundrum there because you don't have a choice either way then if that's how you feel. Our text of encouragement today, Joel, who sends us one most every day, says, live your truth, express your love, share your enthusiasm, take actions towards your dreams, walk your talk, dance and sing to your music, embrace your blessings, make today worth remembering. Thank you, Joel. We all need to be reminded of that. Some very positive news out of Louisiana. They're the first state to require the display of the Ten Commandments in every public school classroom after Republican Governor Jeff Landry signed a bill into law yesterday. Now that's refreshing to require the Ten Commandments. How many places over the past decade or so has had to defend displaying the Ten Commandments? Under legislation HB 71, a poster-sized display of the Ten Commandments is large, easily readable font is required in all public classrooms from kindergarten to state-funded universities. Over the weekend, Landry touted the bill as a fundraiser in Tennessee. He said, I'm going home to sign a bill that places the Ten Commandments in public classrooms, and I can't wait to be sued. Well, I'm sure he's going to be sued. The American Civil Liberties Union said yesterday that it will file a legal challenge to the law, saying it violates a longstanding U.S. Supreme Court precedent and the First Amendment. How can it violate the First Amendment for some and not the others? I mean, if I'm someone who wants to have the Ten Commandments displayed, are you not violating my First Amendment by saying that it can't be displayed? The ACLU said in a joint statement, we're preparing a lawsuit to challenge HB 71. The law violates the separation of church and state and is blatantly unconstitutional. The First Amendment promises that we all get to decide for ourselves what religious beliefs, if any, to hold and practice without pressure from the government. Politicians have no business imposing their preferred religious doctrine on students and families in public schools. I think they're onto something down in Louisiana, don't you? The group said that the new law will send a chilling message to students and families who don't follow the state's preferred version of the Ten Commandments. Look, I think it's a great message to send, that we should still hold the Ten Commandments dear. We all need to live by the Ten Commandments. The ACLU needs to live by the Ten Commandments rather than trying to get them banned from schools. They should want them in our schools. Matt Krause, counsel at the First Liberty Institute, praised the decision, saying that the Pelican State has rightly recognized the history and tradition of the Ten Commandments in the state. Putting this historic document on schoolhouse walls is a great way to remind students of the foundations of American and Louisiana law. In 1980, the High Court ruled that a similar Kentucky law was unconstitutional and violated the Establishment Clause of the U.S. Constitution, which says Congress can make no law respecting an establishment of religion. The High Court found that the law had no secular purpose, but rather served a plainly religious purpose. Proponents of the law say the purpose of the measure is not solely religious, but that it has historical significance. In the law's language, the Ten Commandments are described as foundational documents of our state and national government. The displays, which will be paired with a 4-paragraph context statement describing how the Ten Commandments were a prominent part of American public education for almost 3 centuries, must be in place in classrooms by the start of 2025. Now, don't you find it interesting, as it points out, that it was a big part of not only public education, but public buildings, literally 4 centuries? And how did it suddenly become bad? How did we find ourselves in a position to where we have groups like the ACLU challenging having the Ten Commandments in a public place. The posters will be paid for through donations, not state funds, so no government funds involved. The law also authorizes but does not require the display of the Mayflower Compact, the Declaration of Independence, and the Northwest Ordinance in K-12 public schools. Again, I think it's just a fabulous idea, and I hope that, and it appears that Louisiana is going to fight this, and I think they'll win. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Just click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, find me on YouTube. Be sure and like, subscribe, follow me on my YouTube channel. Just search for Joey Hudson. Appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. Be sure and forward this edition of Just the Truth to some friends. Just click on the share button. Send it to a few of your contacts, because if we're going to build our community and we're going to win in the June primaries, and if we're going to win in November especially, we got to build an army of conservatives. The way we beat Joe Biden is through educating people, and no better way than encouraging them to listen to Just the Truth. Hey, keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your emails always welcome as well. Joey@joeyhudson.com. Don't forget to take advantage of the MyPillow special, $25 for the My Towels 6-piece towel set when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. We're back again tomorrow. Hope you will be too. Remember, God's got this. He's still in control.